Good morning on this Christmas Eve day. Merry Christmas to you and all of your families, and safe travels if you're traveling. When I get done with my devotion, I'm going to go take the tractor and blow the roads open a little bit so we can get in and out. This afternoon at 4 o'clock we have worship at Mabel in Sutton, and I'll do that live on Facebook as well if you'd like to join us for that. We look today at the book of Habakkuk, 3 chapters of a prophet that's not real well known, or not much known about him. I mean, some of them will say Habakkuk, son of. Well, this one we don't have that. And Habakkuk is written shortly after Nahum. I mean, we looked at Nahum yesterday, and it talked about the destruction of the Assyrian Empire and of Nineveh. And so Habakkuk comes, 10, 15, 20 years after that. And the first chapter and the first 5 or 6 verses of chapter 2 are a conversation between Habakkuk and God. And then the rest of chapter 2 are woes or alas against this powerful city or powerful government, or maybe just not any one powerful city or government or nation, but any nation that is that way. And then chapter 3 is a lengthy prayer that Habakkuk has, and praise to God. And it starts, verse 1 says, the oracle that the prophet Habakkuk saw. And it starts with Habakkuk crying out to God. He says, O Lord, how long shall I cry and you will not listen? Or cry violence and you will not save, and it's one of those pleas that we have, is why is it taking you so long, God? Why are you letting all of this go on, God? I mean, if you're a loving and gracious God, why is there so much pain and anguish and war and bullying, and why is the world in such a horrible state as it is if you were a loving and gracious God, And he says, destruction and violence are before me, strife and contention arise. So the law becomes slack and justice never prevails. And it isn't that the law becomes slack, it's that we don't observe the law. The law gets overlooked, and it's, you try to enforce the law and people don't pay any attention. He says, the wicked surround the righteous, therefore judgment comes forth perverted. And this is the prophet speaking to God, do something. And then then starting in verse 5 is God speaking back, and he says, look and see, be astonished, for work is being done in your day, that you would not believe if you were being told. And, there is an awful lot of good in the world. But the news, the things that we hear about are the bad things, because that's, I don't know, for whatever reason, that's what sells. I mean, feel-good stories get looked down upon. And to be honest, I don't mind watching some of the Hallmark Christmas specials. I mean, because there's pain and there's anguish, but there's a happy ending. And happy endings are what it's all about. And that's what Jesus is all about. That's what Christmas is all about, especially Easter. That's the happy ending, the resurrection, the promise that comes that way. So, in verse 6 it says, I am rousing the Chaldeans, this fierce and impetuous nation. And the Chaldeans were the empire that came up after the Assyrian Empire, after Nineveh was destroyed, as I just mentioned. The Chaldeans were being the bullies of the area. They were warring against everyone and defeating them and sieging their cities and taking their women and children and men as slaves. It says, dread and fearsome are they, and their justice and dignity proceed from themselves. They're full of themselves. They are powerful, and they come and they destroy and they plunder. And then verse 12, are you not from old, O Lord my God, my Holy One? You shall not die. O Lord, you have marked them for judgment. So it's again that, oh Lord, you are from old, the Ancient of Days. He was in the beginning, and he was and he is and he always shall be. As it was in the beginning, is now and ever shall be. And this is the God of creation. He has been in the beginning and from the beginning and for always. And so that it talks back and forth, and the enemy brings up all of them with a hook. He drags them out, he gathers them, and then verse 2 again or chapter 2 again is Habakkuk. I will stand at my watchpost, and I will keep watch to see what you will say. And then the Lord answered me. And so we have this conversation that way. And verse 4 of chapter 2, look at the proud. Their spirit is not right in them, but the righteous live by faith. And how often do we hear that? Abraham was deemed righteous because of his faith. And Jesus said, how your faith has made you well. And so the righteous live by faith, by trust in God, by trust in this little baby Jesus that we're going to celebrate his birth, as we gather for a Christmas Eve candlelight service tonight, and some gather for Christmas Day worship tomorrow. But to remember that the righteous live by faith, by trusting in God, believing in God's promise, believing that Jesus came to this earth to be born, to live, to die, and to live again for us and for our salvation. The rest of chapter 2, starting at verse 6, you shall not everyone taught people, and then it's alas, you heap up what is not your own. You're taking from others, you're plundering, and then verse 9 again, another alas for you who get evil gain. Verse 12, alas for you who build a town by bloodshed. Verse 15, alas, and it's all of these, alas, or woe to you, or, beware. This is what's happening. And, the last verses 18 and 19 talk about idols. And it says, the end of verse 19, it is gold and silver plated, and there is no breath in it at all. And this is the thing, we need to remember about idols. There's no breath in them. There's no power in them. There isn't. The only power an idol has is the power that we give it. And then verse 20, but the Lord is in his holy temple. Let all the earth keep silence before him. And this is a meditative refrain, and I don't know, I think it's, I've sung it different times. The Lord is in his holy temple. The Lord is in his holy temple. Let all the earth keep silence. Let all the earth keep silence before him. And it's a reminder that God is in his temple, and that we are to come to him with worship and praise and honor and glory. And it's a kind of a reminder of Psalm 46:10, that we are to be still, we are to listen, we are to hear the voice of God. And it's when the prophet wanted to, God wasn't in the thunder or the lightning or the storm, but God was in the silence. And so it's to take time to be silent before God. And that's, at our candlelight service, as we light the candles, we will sing Silent Night, Holy Night. A time of taking silence and reflecting and thinking about who God is and what God has done for us. And to remember that God alone is holy, and he's in his temple, and he is 100% deserving of our worship and our praise. And as I mentioned, chapter 3 is a prayer of Habakkuk. And it starts out, O Lord, I have heard of your renown. I stand in awe, O Lord, of your work. And we do. We should stand in awe of God's glory, of God's righteousness, of everything that he's done. And he ends the prayer, verse 18, I will rejoice in the Lord. I will exult in the God of my salvation. God the Lord is my strength. And this is where we get our strength, and And we'll hear people say, Lord, give me strength. God, give me strength, and help me, God. And it's, when we rely on God and God's strength and God's grace, this is when we are taking that time to be in silence and reverence and awe. And like Habakkuk started out, we wonder, why is it taking so long, God? But the timing of God is fulfilled in Jesus Christ our Lord. May this Christmas Eve day bring you blessing and joy. I'll see you later this afternoon and then tomorrow morning again for devotion.